Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a comparison between the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra on the left and the Galaxy Z Fold 2 on the right. Now, these are two completely different devices, but of course from the same manufacturer, and they're both very expensive. You're looking at now the Note 20 Ultra on sale. I believe Amazon, I'll include a link in the description, is selling the half terabyte model for $1,100 US, which I think is a very compelling price. The Z Fold 2, on the other hand, $2,000, right where it's probably going to stay until we have a third generation, and I don't even know that they'll discount it at that point. And these are both for power users, in my opinion, but of course, they're not identical. They share a lot in common in terms of the same 865 Qualcomm Snapdragon processor, 865 Plus, excuse me. They both have 12 gigs of RAM. This phone has 128 gigs of internal storage, whereas the Z Fold 2 has 256. You can, as I mentioned, go to 512 with the Note 20 Ultra. Unfortunately, with the Z Fold 2, it's 256 and no other options. We also have a micro SD card slot for storage expansion. Both of them benefit from having 120 hertz refresh rates, but for the Z Fold 2, that's only on the internal display. You are not going to have that refresh rate on the 6.2 external display that you just saw before I opened up the Fold. But of course, what the Note 20 Ultra has going for it, there are a few things that for some of you will make it the better device than the Z Fold 2, pricing aside. First and foremost, an IP68 rating, which means you can get this wet. It's dust resistant. It's a bit of a beast when it comes to not just specifications, but also being able to take a beating. The Fold is a little bit more fragile, no question about it. I don't baby it like I felt I would have to with the first generation, but that's because I spent enough time with the good old Z Flip to gain enough confidence in what Samsung had done in the folding display arena. And now I do have enough confidence that I'm not worried about it, even though it is a $2,000 phone. Still would like a better case than the one I have on it right now, but that's really about it when it comes to durability. But beyond the IP68 rating, what you also have, storage expansion. You also have, of course, what makes the Note unique, which is an S Pen. And Samsung really did improve S Pen performance this generation in terms of latency, overall feel, and I think it's the best experience you're going to find from any phone, not just, of course, Samsung's Note line, but any other competing product on the market. So if pen input is important to you, which to me it has been for many, many years, then I have to say you got to go with this device. But there's more. There's one other defining characteristic that the Note 20 Ultra has that unfortunately the Fold does not, and that is that camera array on the back. So if you're looking for the best photographic tool that you can fit in your pocket, but bear in mind pocketability is not choice for either of these. In fact, for the Note 20 Ultra, I would argue it's actually worse, even though it's a little bit thinner than the Z Fold 2. It's taller and wider, and I don't know about you, but I've got normal pockets, and neither of these are a perfect fit, but one of them always sticks out, and that's the Note 20 Ultra, and that's even without a case. But back to the cameras. You have 3 cameras on the back. You also have 3 cameras with the Z Fold 2, but the Z Fold 2 is essentially employing the cameras found on the S20, okay? So they're good. They're not best in class. They won't leave you wishing that you had something better, because to me, at the end of the day, no smartphones except for Sony's Xperia 1 Mark II have really amazing cameras in my opinion. What I do appreciate, though, about the Note 20 Ultra is the 5x optical zoom. So if you caught my comparison between the Note 20 Ultra and the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II, that is one big difference. I mean, it's got a wide, medium, and telephoto, but with that 5x optical zoom, the thumbnail says it all. I was able to capture a usable, albeit not amazing, image of a full moon that I just couldn't do with the Xperia 1 Mark II because it doesn't have that sort of optical reach. Okay, so that's something to be aware of. This phone doesn't either. Okay, it just doesn't have it. Another thing is this can record 8K video. Now, do I think 8K video is a necessity? Absolutely not. Even I do not have an 8K monitor or television in my home. So, do I think 8K will eventually be a standard? Yeah, probably, but the world is still working on getting 4K to really be standard, even though it's been standard for me since, what, 2012? Is that right? Yeah, I think so. I think I've been recording on the channel here in 4K since 2012, and I've had 4K monitors and televisions now for quite a long time. So even though the rest of the world, and especially broadcasting, shame on you, networks and cable companies, you're all pieces of crap when it comes to not doing true 4K. And that's where streaming services like Netflix stepped up and said, we're going to deliver true 4K. I mean, the fact that I can't watch a football game that is US football, American football, in 4K is still gross. I mean, we should have it. But why don't we? Because the companies just don't want to do it, even if we have TVs that support it. And these days, 4K TVs are so inexpensive, I'm not saying monitors, that there's really no excuse. But I digress. Back to the cameras. If cameras are important to you, in other words, they are a deciding factor, this is, again, the phone that will best this. 8K video, 4K 60p, better overall performance from the cameras, not only in terms of the actual quality of the images, but more importantly, the actual autofocus system. That all resides in the Note 20. So if you're a fan of Samsung, if you are a Galaxy user and you want the best camera system they can throw at you, the Note 20 has that. So to recap, we've got the pen input, the better camera array, and of course the IP68 rating. Now, the Fold, on the other hand, that's my personal favorite. Why? Because as I've mentioned in updates, it's a 2-in-1. And it is more pocketable for me than this device. And when it comes to spending $2,000 versus at launch $1,450 or it was $13.99. Is it 13? I think it was $13.50, $14.50, whatever. It doesn't matter. As I said, now $1,100 gets you the half terabyte, so we'll work with that number. I do feel you're getting more for your money here, and many of you may scratch your head. But the reason being is that with this device, you're getting the best of both worlds. You're getting, in my opinion, the best of the candy bar style phone world. Yes, a more narrow display, but I think in the real world, a more practical one. And then when you actually want a tablet, you have it in your pocket. Now, do I miss pen input? Do I wish I had it? Sure. And that will probably come eventually. Give Samsung, some time to figure out how to accomplish it, and then we'll have it. In the interim, I'm very happy with what they've done here. Audio on both phones is great. They both, as phones, are very good, but 5 cameras here, 4 cameras here. I mean, I know that's really close, but 2 displays, one of which is unique, and there is nothing else like it, not only because it folds, but it's a 7.6-inch 120 hertz display. They have the exact same size battery, even though there are 2 here split across the 2 halves of this phone, but 4,500 milliamp hours in both. But, you don't have glass here on the internal. I mean, Samsung calls it a form of glass, and it is technically, but of course it's not a product from Corning. It's not a form of Gorilla Glass. Here we have Victus glass covering the front and back of the Note 20 Ultra. So when it comes to the actual specs, I mean, they are nearly identical. Again, the differentiating factors are really the camera modules, this internal display that no other phone other than the original Fold can actually compete with, and of course, pen IP rating. But when it comes to processor, when it comes to 5G capability, even though I'm in a non-5G capable market, when it comes to internal storage, very comparable, but we do have a micro SD card slot on board, which I wish this had. Neither has a headphone jack. Both are Type-C quick charging. Both do not, unfortunately, give you anything up to what I expected here in 2020, which was something, really beyond 45 watts. I mean, 25 watts quick charge is what you're looking at both. Battery life, they both kind of are the same as well. Not just because they have the same battery, because of course you got a much bigger display here, and actually two displays, and more cameras, more hardware in the Fold, and that's why I think it's a better value. You are getting more for that additional money, whereas here, we're kind of getting more of the same. I mean, Samsung made legitimate improvements. This is absolutely the best Note ever made, but it's not a game changer. And the fact that I can't fit it in my pocket doesn't make me happy. I mean, it'll get in there, but it also will fall out. When I get in and out of my car, danger zone, baby. This thing can slide out. This far less likely to do so, thankfully, since, I mean, a $2,000, last thing you want is this falling anywhere. But the flexibility on this, the fact that you've got a hinge that can allow you to sit at your desk, have it there, have a keyboard here, content there, watch a video, whatever it may be. The flex mode is a bit of a game changer. If you're not familiar with it, I got my taste with the Z Flip and I loved it. And it was really just a matter of time before, obviously, we got it here with the Z Fold 2. And it's a great improvement. And again, for me personally, I never thought that I would be able to say I'm going to walk away from the Note in favor of the Fold. I just thought they were two great pieces of complementary tech, the best of both worlds, if you will. But the fact that the Fold is, again, a candy bar that you don't ever need to go to the internal display if you don't want to. But then you do have the benefit of what years ago was just unimaginable. I mean, I remember loving the Nexus 7 line of tablets, you know, the 7-inch tablets in general, and now I have one in my pocket. I mean, that's just insane. And the 120 hertz AMOLED display here, plus, you know, over 2000 2K resolution, it's gorgeous. Again, audio, stereo speakers, top and bottom. Also, the same can be said for this guy. I mean, the audio on here is fantastic, but not as good as the Z Fold 2. So, which is right for you? I mean, obviously, I can't answer that question. I can give you my input, which is that I personally prefer the Fold, not just because it's bleeding edge tech, but because, you know, I've been waiting years for a phone that would change the way I use my phone, change the way I look at my phone. And for years, year after year, the Note has been the best of everything. Well, the game has changed, and now the best of everything is in the Fold 2. And for those of you that don't have any interest in the Fold, and one of my best friends completely has no interest in this, has more interest in the Microsoft Duo, even though it's a hot, stinky turd. Granted, it's Gen 1. I can tell you right now, this is where things will continue to go. Whether you want the smaller version or the bigger version, folding displays, they are the future. They are not a gimmick. They are reality. And yeah, right now, they are incredibly expensive, but with time, that will change. But this is basically a computer in my pocket, just as the Note 20 Ultra would be, but I actually can open it up and have a display that if I put it on a kickstand, which unfortunately this Samsung leather case does not afford, but hopefully I will have a case soon, the Aramid with the kickstand, or maybe another manufacturer will reach out and send me something else. This thing is really usable. Then combine it with something like the Lenovo M14T ThinkVision display, and you've literally got a computer with a 14-inch full HD touchscreen and pen input. That's a demo I'll be doing another day because I think that's an incredibly cool option to have to be able to carry around. But you know, this is all a matter of personal preference. And just a good working example, my fiance, she loves the Fold. She thinks it's the coolest thing on the market, but she would not give up her S Pen in her Note 10 Plus to get a folding phone. In fact, I've already offered her the good old little Z Flip, which I think is ideal for a lot of people out there. Flagship capability, but half the size, and really pocket friendly, which I love about it. But again, she wants to keep that S Pen. And if you're one of those people that want to keep the S Pen, then the Note 20 Ultra is still the best phone on the market. But when it comes to battery life, as I mentioned, same size battery, neither of these are going to make it through the day without you hitting a charging brick at some point. I mean, yeah, you can tweak it. You can turn off the 120 hertz refresh rate. I mean, but that kind of defeats the purpose of having it, right? You can limit the CPU usage, go to a battery saver mode, and then you'll get closer to getting through the day. You're looking at 6 to 7 hours of on-screen time, but then you're gimping a device that really is meant to be full throttle beast. And in my experience, like right now with this device, I'm running it on performance mode, which means I'm throwing the battery life to the wind and just saying, I want this to run as quickly and as capably as it possibly can. We're in a pandemic. I'm not really going anywhere, so that's fine. I can plug it in. I can wirelessly charge it, by the way. That's a nice benefit with this, unlike something with the Microsoft Surface Duo, which lacks wireless charging. They both have power share. I can't imagine owning a device in 2020 that doesn't have wireless charging. I mean, I know Apple consumers could because they didn't have it until a few years ago, but that's another step backwards I can't take. Kind of like what Samsung did with the Tab S7, charging AMOLED prices and giving us an LCD. Shame on Samsung for that. I call it like it is. These are two of the best smartphones out there right now. In fact, I would argue these are the two best. The only other one that's not here anymore, because my review unit went back, of course, is the Sony Xperia 1 Mark II. But these are really hard to beat. And I think you already know which one you want. If you want two devices in one, you've got it here. But if you need pen input, if you need IP68 coverage for dust and water resistance, and you just happen to like the fact that you'll have the best camera module out there, then the Note 20 Ultra is the way to go, especially with its newly found lower pricing, because it just hasn't been selling well. This guy, on the other hand, no sales problems, at least that I've heard about, and for good reason. This is a game changer, and I can only imagine what we're going to see in the third generation Fold. But anyway, that was today's comparison, again, between the Note 20 5G Ultra, or Note 20 Ultra 5G, and the Galaxy Z Fold 2 5G. Any questions or comments, please feel free to post them. Hit that like button. And as usual, please feel free to subscribe, and please stay safe. Later.